Tarragon is known as the little dragon herb. It's a member of the Artemisia family, and it received its name a long time ago because it was believed that you could cure the bite of a dragon by taking tarragon and making a wet poultice of it and laying it on the skin. This is an old Chinese story, fable, parable that tarragon would cure the bite of the dragon. But it does have some scientific proof. It does help in the stings of reptiles. So it's something about the venom mixed with the oil. We're talking about the oil of the tarragon mixed with the venom of the reptile that bites you, preferably a snake, becomes an anti-venom. So tarragon, it does work for that, and that's the oil itself. Other health benefits, the one that my great grandmother used tarragon for, she actually made a tarragon oil. She made her own oil. She used it for toothaches. So she would mix tarragon and cloves together and make a tooth oil. Of course, most African Americans in the South were limited on healthcare, and they were limited on money, but they were not limited in knowledge. And a lot of them knew plant knowledge. It may have been folklore and folk tales to most folks, but their health heavily relied on what they knew about the earth, what they could grow, what they could sustain, and what they could use effectively. So clove oil and tarragon oil became a really good antibacterial agent. If you had infected gums, and of course, being poor and Black, you probably were not going to go to the dentist. So my great grandmother would make an oil from that and just rub it on the gums when your gums hurt. Maybe your wisdom teeth were coming in, and of course you couldn't get them pulled. So she would put that oil, you put on a Q-tip or put it on a piece of muslin cloth, and you rub that on your gums. So that's a really good way to keep your mouth clean. You could do a tarragon antiseptic mouth rinse. So you could actually make that yourself. Or you could do tarragon and clove and a few drops of tea tree oil and make your own antiseptic mouth rinse as well. It's also antioxidant and anti-parasitic. So if you have worms, most of us do have parasites. There are good parasites and there are bad parasites that live in our gut. If you had an overabundance of parasites, tarragon oil or tarragon tea is a good way to reduce the numbers. But they say that tarragon tea mixed with a little mint, possibly, will help you sleep. If you have insomnia, but it's not too bad, you just sometimes you're a little frazzled going to bed before bed, you can drink tarragon mixed with a little mint, and that will not only help your digestive tract, your digestive system, but it'll also improve your sleep. So if any of you are interested in cultivating tarragon, just know that your plant should be grown in areas that receive full sun. She likes full sun, but she doesn't like full sun all day long. Like I said, she's a sensitive stripper, and she doesn't like a whole lot of attention. She wants a little attention for a short period of time. All right, so make sure that you have her. She likes full sun, but full sun for maybe 4 to 6 hours a day. Of course, your soil should be well drained and definitely fertile. I like to mix chicken manure and cow manure in mine and fertilize our soil. We have a little bit of red clay soil here, not as red as Kentucky, but it is red and it's rocky. If you have compost, she does love a composted soil. So tarragon does really good in composted soil. When we look at iron, magnesium, calcium, she has significant levels of those three vitamins and minerals in the leaves. She does have a high source of vitamin A, C, and B6. I found that to be very important, especially for women. The B vitamins are going to be significant in all of our mental development, our stability, our agility mentally, anxiety. If you're notorious for having high levels of anxiety daily, you want to look at putting more B vitamins into your system. Folic acid, definitely. You know, there's so many B vitamins. As a holistic nutritionist, I suggest that you simply just do a vegetarian prenatal vitamin. Every woman should be taking a vegetarian prenatal vitamin. That would just take care of everything. You may need to add an additional supplement to it, but your vegetarian prenatal would cover everything. You just think of it. If you've been pregnant before and you've had children and you took a prenatal vitamin, you got all of the nutrients extra because you were growing a human. Well, why should that be any different if you're not growing a human? We do everything that's detrimental to our health every day, from the foods we eat to the thoughts we think to the people we keep around us. All of that is detrimental to our overall holistic health. So I suggest that you be encouraged to take a prenatal vegetarian vitamin, and then if you want to do an extra supplement, I would add C and D to that as an additional supplement. Those are just my suggestions. Don't substitute my judgment for your own. Disclaimer. All right. Now let's look at the cultural components of tarragon. You're going to find these to be really, really interesting on the medicinal history of how this herb has been used around the world. And I've given you a little bit of how my great grandmother used to use tarragon. It was not her top herb, but it was in her plethora. In her little herbal stash, she did use fresh tarragon quite frequently. So when we look at the Middle East, we're talking about tarragon. It was used for an aid for insomnia, as well as to enhance the taste of unpleasant medicines. Furthermore, it was used as an anesthetic for throbbing teeth. Like I said, my great grandmother used it. Skin sores as well as cuts, and herbalists in the Middle East also use it as a breath freshener. So again, if you don't want to use anything like Listerine or Scope or anything that's out on the market, even the natural ones, Tom's of Maine or any of those natural ones, you can make your own herbal antiseptic mouthwash by simply using tarragon. You can just do it with tarragon. In Russia, they use tarragon for the treatment of topical skin wounds. It also reduced inflammation and irritation in those wounds. And they also use it in treating allergic reactions that would occur on the skin. Remember, on the skin. And they use that generally as a poultice. For those of you who are not familiar with the poultice, some are dry, some are wet. You can take the herb. I'll tell you how Granny used to do it. She'd take the herb, she'd grind down the herb. She would add lard to it, good old Crisco lard. And she mixed the herb in with the lard and what other herbs she had, depending on what skin ailment you had. And then she would lay that on your skin. If she found that the herb could be applied to the skin directly without irritation, she would not use a medium to to help that. So the medium is your lard. Of course today they're using more healthier ingredients, but if you don't need a medium and you can use the herb directly on the skin as a poultice, do that. You might want to do a skin patch test to make sure that it does not irritate the skin. Okay, so this is definitely good for allergic reactions on the skin. They also use it to treat scurvy and to reduce convulsions as a result of epilepsy, and the treatment as a treatment for night blindness. That was definitely new to me. I've never heard of either of those three components being something that tarragon is effective for. So that was good to know. In China, traditional Chinese medicine, TCM, they use tarragon as a protector herb, a strengthener of the liver, as well as a diuretic. They also use it to aid in reducing topical skin inflammation. Again, And the other uses include microbial infections, inflammatory diseases such as malaria, hepatitis, gastric ulcers, cancer, and diarrhea, and circulatory diseases. So if you're not familiar with Chinese medicine is bomb ass diggity medicine. Like if you know Chinese medicine and you're a practitioner, you know some stuff that will probably not COVID-19 off its ass. It is not the only bomb diggity system of medicine on the globe, but it is a top one, and it is still effective thousands and thousands and thousands of years later. So it would behoove you, if you're interested more in herbal medicine, to just do a little research on some basic herbs and see what TCM offers in basic herbal training. And then we come to the North American side, and we're gonna look at 3 Native American groups of people who use tarragon very effectively. Let's talk about the Navajo, and they use tarragon in a salve, and they would treat and heal wounds as well. I was speaking with a Navajo elder many years ago, and she was talking to me about the use of tarragon for spiritual reasons as well. So when you think about plants and you think about herbs, herbs do not only have medicinal properties, but they do contain spiritual properties. So if you're working towards a goal of something for yourself, let's just say centering yourself more, and you want to employ something that is natural, you can look up plants and see which plants have an affinity to that, you know, the spiritual side of what you're looking for, and find out what plant fits. Maybe you need to get that plant in your home. Maybe there's too much chaos in your home and you need a plant that signifies the spiritual properties of that plant, you know, is calm, it equals the opposite of anxiety. You may want to bring that plant in. Plants not only have spiritual properties, but they do have emotional properties and medicinal properties. So when you're looking at plants, when you're working with plants, make sure you're covering all those bases, because what you have an affinity to, what you like, may not be what's right for you totally holistically. All right. So we took a look at the Navajo. Now let's take a look at the Chippewa. The Chippewa tribe used tarragon for women. It was the women's herb. In traditional Western medicine, we look at red raspberry as being the woman's herb. But in this particular tribe, the Chippewa, they used tarragon as the women's herb. They used it to reduce menstrual blood flow as well as to aid with difficult births. I would have loved to be there to see how they use that for the birth. I'm thinking myself, maybe as a tea. It may have been as a douche, possibly. It would be interesting to know how they use that. They also used it in a form of helping to ease heart palpitations by simply chewing on the leaves. Remember, we talked earlier about how tarragon is good for the digestive tract. So if you think about tarragon helping that digestive system, now you can add to it that it also eases heart palpitations. So if you are a person who has high stress levels, or you are anxious, or you have a lot of anxiety, this may be a significantly charged herb to add to your medicine, your herbal medicine bag or your herbal medicine chest, just to help in moments like that. I'm not sure about dried, how that would go if you had the dried tarragon, but definitely the fresh tarragon, you could definitely get the oil out of that by chewing that up. They also used it in baths, and I'm going to say that these were spiritual baths. It says that they would use the bath, tarragon in a bath for the youth and elderly as a steam bath to bring more strength to the body. So remember, your skin is the largest organ of the body. So if you're soaking in the herb itself, then your skin is soaking in the medicinal properties of that herb, and you are getting the medicinal benefits of that. So that's how you would do that in a bath. And then the last Native American group to use that is the Shuwak group. And they use the herb to keep away mosquitoes as a mosquito repellent. So that's good to know. I'm going to actually try that one this summer. So what you would do is you just actually make a tea from it. Make a tea, and you can add it to a spray bottle. And then just test it out. See how it works. Mosquitoes are usually attracted to you because of what you're eating or what you're not eating. They just don't bite you because they're attracted to what's in your blood. So let's look at the Middle Ages. In the Middle Ages, tarragon was used as a therapeutic agent, and they moved past the culinary properties of tarragon, and they use it for treating fevers, upper respiratory infections, again, digestive problems, ulcers, and to stimulate appetite, as well as to reduce plague epidemics. Let me repeat, to reduce plague epidemics. I think this may be one that you might want to consider adding to your plethora. And then lastly, about tarragon, that I had no idea. Would you believe that this plant has some fiber in it? Like, who would have known that tarragon had fiber? 2 grams. 2 grams of fiber in this. I mean, of course, that's not enough fiber to like have a bowel movement or anything, but it's fiber and it's plant fiber. And anytime you ingest plant fiber, the body can metabolize that better, absorb it, and push it out.